3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
73 seconds. That is all it took for a nation's dream to become a global nightmare, a $6.5 billion marvel of engineering simply erased from the sky. The cause, a simple piece of rubber, and a fatal human error. The Space Shuttle program was the pride of America, a reusable spacecraft that promised to make space travel routine. And this mission, STS-51L, was meant to be special. On board were 7 brave astronauts, a commander, a pilot, scientists. But it was the final crew member who had truly captured the heart of the nation. Christa McAuliffe, a high school teacher from New Hampshire, chosen from over 11,000 applicants to be the first teacher in space. She was going to teach lessons from orbit, inspiring millions of children who were watching live from their classrooms. The entire world was watching. But on the eve of the launch, a dark conflict was brewing. January 28, 1986, was cold. Dangerously cold. Temperatures at the launch site had plummeted to freezing. Engineers from Morton Thiokol, the company that built the shuttle's rocket boosters, were sounding the alarm. In an emergency teleconference with NASA managers, their warning was desperate and clear. Do not launch. They knew the critical rubber seals that held the rocket segments together, the O-rings, would become hard and brittle in the extreme cold. They predicted they would fail, but the pressure from NASA was immense. After multiple delays, the managers made a fateful decision. They overruled their own engineers. The launch was a go. So, what exactly is this O-ring? Think of the simple rubber seal inside a water bottle cap. Its job is to create a perfect seal, to stop anything from leaking. The shuttle's O-rings had a much more critical task, to contain the unimaginably hot, high-pressure gas burning inside the rocket boosters. But on that freezing morning, the rubber had lost its life-saving flexibility. It failed to expand. It failed to seal. It was a catastrophe, waiting to happen. At 11:38 a.m., Challenger cleared the tower. For a few moments, everything looked perfect, but it wasn't. Less than a second after liftoff, a small puff of black smoke appeared from the lower joint of the right solid rocket booster. It was the O-ring, failing its duty. A small, almost invisible flame began to burn through the joint, acting like a blowtorch against the massive external fuel tank. For 73 seconds, Challenger flew a doomed flight. Then...
APUs.
Roger, go to throttle.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
In the aftermath of the tragedy, as the nation grieved, one question echoed across the world. Why? The search for answers began immediately. President Reagan appointed a special commission, known as the Rogers Commission, to investigate the disaster. Their mission? To find the truth, no matter how painful. The first step was a colossal effort to recover the shuttle's remains from the Atlantic Ocean. For months, ships and submarines combed a vast underwater debris field, bringing the twisted metal wreckage to the surface piece by piece. It was a grim, heartbreaking puzzle. Eventually, they recovered the crew cabin, confirming the worst fears. Meanwhile, in the hearing rooms, the investigation seemed to hit a wall of bureaucratic red tape and complex technical jargon from NASA officials. The answers were slow, and the truth remained buried. But the commission had a secret weapon, a maverick physicist who had grown tired of the official narrative. Richard Feynman. Feynman decided to bypass the management chain and talk directly to the engineers and technicians, the people with their hands on the hardware. It was there he heard the whispers, the stories of ignored warnings, and the deep concerns about the performance of the O-rings in the cold. The turning point came when key engineers like Alan MacDonald from Morton Thiokol decided to risk their careers and tell the truth. They testified before the commission, revealing the story of the frantic overnight teleconference and how their desperate warnings not to launch were overruled by NASA managers. Suddenly, the investigation had a focus. It wasn't just a technical failure anymore. It was a human failure. All that was needed was to prove it to the world, and showed the world how the cold rubber had lost all of its resiliency. It remained compressed. It had failed to seal. In one simple, brilliant moment, he had exposed the fatal flaw for everyone to see.
Given the configuration that we ran, that the seal would function at that temperature. That was the final judgment.
Oh, I took the stuff that I got out of your seal, and I put it in ice water. And I discovered that when you put some pressure on it for a while and then undo it, it maintains, it doesn't stretch back, it stays the same dimension. In other words, for a few seconds at least, and more seconds than that, there's no resilience in this particular material when it's at a temperature of 32 degrees. I believe that has some significance for our problem.
But the loss was not just measured in lives and broken dreams. It was also a financial catastrophe by every standard. To truly understand the scale of this disaster, we have to look at the numbers. In today's money, the direct financial loss of the Challenger disaster is estimated to be over $6.5 billion. So how do we arrive at such a staggering figure? First, the cost of the Challenger orbiter itself. Back in 1985, building this single vehicle cost $1.7 billion, which translates to nearly $5 billion today. Second, the cost of that single final mission. The fuel, the rocket boosters, and the immense logistical support for launch day cost around $450 million at the time, the equivalent of $1.3 billion today. And finally, the cost of the investigation and the massive recovery effort to retrieve the shuttle's debris from the Atlantic Ocean, which added another $100 million back then. The total in 1986 was a direct loss of over $2.25 billion, a number that, after adjusting for inflation, explodes to today's figure of $6.5 billion. All of it lost because of the failure of a single piece of rubber. The cost was immeasurable. 7 souls, a nation's dream, shattered in a plume of smoke against a cold blue sky. The Challenger disaster was more than a technical failure. It was a deep wound in the heart of human ambition, a solemn reminder that the path to the stars is paved with immense risk and profound sacrifice. We remember them not for how they were lost, but for the dream they embodied. The dream of exploration, of pushing boundaries, and of reaching beyond our world. Their final journey was not an end, but a tragic, pivotal moment in a much longer story. But from the heart of that tragedy, a new resolve was forged. The dream did not die. Our gaze still turns to the heavens. With every new launch, every new discovery, we carry their legacy with us. The journey they started continues. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe.